This is Tyrese Halliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
What's up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden. I'm joined today by my co-host, Michael J. Facci. And Facci, how was your weekend, man?
Woo! Busy weekend. First time on solo dad duty for the weekend. 2 kids, basically two years and under. It was a lot, but I survived, I thrived, and I came out a better father. That's what I'll say. But at the same point, my God, I'm exhausted. Long weekend, I'll say that.
Is mom home?
She's home. She was in Florida for the weekend. She's back, hopefully rejuvenated, maybe not, but at the same point, it's good to have the family back. She's happy to be home, and the kids were excited, but I think they also had a lot of fun with their dad, able to get away with a little bit more.
That's right.
A little bit later, a couple more snacks, a little bit more TV. You never know.
What were you showing your kids? Anything interesting?
We watched some baseball. We watched some wrestling. We did. Also there's some kid shows and stuff like that. But it was just good wholesome weekend. We went for some walks. We're playing a lot of baseball. I'm telling you, my kid's only 2. She can swing. She's swinging, and I think she's way ahead of where I was. Now I'm not gonna act like I ever stood a chance, the majors or anything. But this kid's got something. So feeling good about that. We're playing a lot of sports. We're shooting a lot of little basketball, the Fisher Price hoop. So good weekend.
Sounds like a good time, Facci. And I will say, you brought up baseball. I just have to ask because we talked about this about a couple of weeks ago after the trade deadline.
I've been meaning to bring this up to you.
My St. Louis Cardinals closer.
Damaged goods. That is not. He was.
Are we sure it's damaged goods or is this intentional?
I don't know, man. This is
Bell's trying to torture the Mets.
This is not working out well. He has been letting up what it feels like almost a run every single time he comes out there. So it's been pretty bad.
Yeah, I would be surprised if he's in the rotation anytime soon moving forward. They've traded a lot for him for a rental.
Yeah, I know. For a rental, the Mets are dropping games left and right. So pretty rough time. But at the same point, baseball's a long season. We still got some time left, but the Mets really pretty much took off for the month of August. It's been awful. They're like 2 wins, 3 wins, and like 12 losses. It's just they've been sliding for a while now. It's unfortunate. The Cardinals, on the other hand, what are you even rooting for?
Nothing. I hate the Cardinals right now. Like I'm a Cardinals fan, but like there's nothing to root for this season. Like we're just looking forward to the future. Hopefully ownership can get their crap figured out and we can move forward. But I will say, if you're excited about anything baseball wise, August 27th, a Wednesday night at Victory Field, it is TJ McConnell night. TJ McConnell will be throwing out the first pitch and he'll be signing autographs at the field. So I think if anybody wants to come check that out, they should. I will be in attendance for that because Facci, as you know, August 27th is my birthday. So I figured there's no better way to celebrate my birthday than to be at Victory Field for TJ McConnell night.
It's pretty cool. TJ McConnell night. Wow. I like that. Yeah, McConnell's that type of guy that it just feels like years ago. I remember when the signing happened, 3rd string point guard, whatever, who knows and then now where we're at, no one could have ever predicted that McConnell would make this big of an impact with the Pacers, a true fan favorite. And that's why when we go back to the fan favorite draft that we did, and I got smoked on that draft. But when you took TJ McConnell, that is equivalent to truly like a 1st round fan favorite pick. It really is. He's that beloved in Indiana, and we're lucky to have him.
I didn't just get TJ McConnell. I also got Lance Stevenson.
Which was there's no coming back from that.
And he just won the 4th man of the season award, 4th man of the year award in the Big 3, which obviously it's 3-on-3 tournament. He's their first guy off the bench, and he's their 2nd leading scorer for the Miami team down there. So anyway, just some interesting, not so newsworthy stuff in the month of August here, as it is August 17th as we're recording this. But Facci, on today's episode, Seth Johnson from NUVO is going to be joining us to talk all things Pacers. We talk a little bit of music, and I will say I really enjoyed when I asked him to compare this Pacers rise to stardom to a music artist that he has covered. And the name that he came up with, don't tease it too much, but it might be a little bit of a teaser in the title of this episode, but I thought it was pretty clever.
Already thinking about the title. I like where your head's at. But yeah, I think it was a little bit of a maybe unexpected comparison, but I think it makes a lot of sense if you do know music. If you don't, you might be like, what is he even talking about? But I knew enough to know, like, hey, actually, I see what you're getting at. So I thought it was a pretty good one.
Yeah. And so last thing here before we bring him on, I just want to say, did you happen to see the Hoop Collective's redraft of the 2022 NBA draft?
I did. I got some questions, though. So, one, definitely Andrew Nembhard, top 10 pick. No doubt about that. Mathurin at 14, right? It was 14.
Last pick in the draft.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know. Also, like, Dyson Daniels, I mean, it was a really good year, but it was 1 year.
On a bad team.
Yeah.
Walker Kessler, one good rookie season on a bad team.
So that's what I'm saying. And like even Keegan Murray, good player. Keegan Murray, to this day, his best year was his rookie year. So I don't know. I feel like Andrew Nembhard could have slithered up a little bit. He could have been a little bit higher, I would say, in that redraft.
Without diving into it too much, I think that you can make the case Nembhard should be top 5, if not at least in the 4 to 6 range.
Yeah.
But I would say Mathurin definitely should be top 10. The fact that they had him outside the top 10 just kind of felt disrespectful, especially having Jaden Ivey over him. Like, no offense to Jaden Ivey, like he's had some moments, but like Jaden Ivey hasn't been able to stay healthy, and Mathurin has played better than him, especially head-to-head every single time. Shaden Sharp with Portland, like him ahead of Mathurin.
These are bad teams, though. Like, you got Mathurin. We've talked about what Mathurin could do on a bad team. I mean, he would light up the scoreboard left and right. This is a guy who has multiple 20-point games in an NBA Finals.
27 points in 22 minutes in Game 3 of an NBA Finals, and you're saying, this guy's 14th best player in the draft. No, I mean, the system that he is in makes it seem like he isn't as talented as he is. We'll talk about this more with Seth.
Yeah.
But if he was in a different system, like this is a guy that could easily average 20 points a game. It's just the way this team is kind of built and structured, it's just a bit of a challenge for him. So I feel like he's adapted really well, and he didn't even get to play this was his first time in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
People forget that he didn't play last year because of the injury. So he had to sit there and watch Ben Shepherd get all of his minutes. And that would have been a huge learning experience for him. So I'm just saying, like, I know that we have conversations about Mathurin that seems to be pointed that we don't like him. I just felt like there was a lot of disrespect towards Mathurin. I thought Tim Bontemps, no offense, but a little bit of offense. Tim Bontemps, I feel like he missed on every single pick that he drafted.
Yeah. I don't think that was good. And honestly, for Jaden Ivey, like you could say, oh, well, Detroit was really good last year. Jaden Ivey got hurt, missed a lot of time. So the numbers that Jaden Ivey been producing was on really bad Pistons teams. So I think there was a little bit too much sleeping on Mathurin there. He should have been higher. We're not going to completely overrate him in the list, but like he should have been closer to 10, I would say, somewhere in that range. Like that 14 was just like, come on, man. Like this guy's going to wake a lot of people up next year. I think if Tim Bontemps did this draft 1 year from now, Mathurin would be so much higher on that list because he's going to explode this year. I really do think so. And for Keegan Murray, this is like a kind of a pivotal year to be like, what is he? Because a couple of years ago, it almost seemed like he was untouchable in any type of trade for Sacramento. So we'll see. And I think that list, you could probably have a whole nother topic for a whole nother day on that. But I think we have a really fun episode coming up with Seth. I think you guys are going to like this. And we threw a lot of questions his way that, let's just say, it might have been labeled good questions. Put it that way.
Yeah, it was good to have Seth on. I think you guys are going to enjoy this episode. So let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll get to that conversation with our good friend, Seth Johnson. Alrighty, Pacer Nation, what is up? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. And Facci and I are joined today by an incredible guest, a guy that has been covering the Pacers for a long time now and should have been on this podcast eons ago, but we just found a time to coordinate it and make it work. It is my friend from NUVO, Seth Johnson. Seth, what's up, man? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know we've been covering this team for a while, so I guess when did you actually start covering the Pacers full time?
Yeah, I was actually looking into that earlier. The very first game I ever covered was in the 2018 playoffs. It was the game 6 of the first round. It was that crazy game where Oladipo and Bojan both like went off, like had crazy games. Pacers blew out the Cavs at home. Yeah, energy was crazy. It was like right before that pretty epic game 7 in Cleveland, which wound up being the year that the Cavs won the championship. But yeah, that was the first year I ever covered team. And I've been doing it ever since, man. It's kind of crazy to think about. how much has changed since then. That was quite a different team than it is now. Gone through a lot of iterations. I'm even thinking back to like the first time I attended media day would have been 2019, and I remember like talking to like Darren Collison. I'm trying to think who else was there. I mean, I think Sabonis was there, obviously. But yeah, it's just crazy to think about. What all has transpired since the first year that I covered the team.
Yeah, iterations, I think it's a good word that you mentioned. The Pacers have started over, time after time. Not really start over this year, but like a weird in-between type of period. But you mentioned your first year really covering the team was a really fun year that was unexpected. That 2017-2018 year kind of came out of nowhere. Seth, looking at this roster, is there a chance that maybe we could be in for a bit of a surprise where maybe this team could be better than people hoped?
Man, that's a good question. I really feel like this year, I feel like it's kind of like a prove it year, really, especially without Ty. We got all these new pieces. Well, I don't know, not new pieces, but guys that are kind of going to get spotlight that hadn't before, whether it be Isaiah Jackson, whether it be Jay Huff, whether it be Mathurin getting in the starting lineup. I just feel like there's so many kind of pieces this year that it's gonna be it really just will be a prove it year for a lot of these guys. And if they thrive, then yeah, we'll see what happens, man. It kind of will be just will be determined by how much these guys kind of step up to the plate,
Is there one player in particular that you're looking forward to seeing them step up in this new opportunity?
Man, I guess Isaiah Jackson. I'm excited to see kind of what he can do. Obviously he fits he's always fit really well with the style of this team. I feel like his issue over the years has always just been that his fouling, man. Like he just fouls too much. And I feel like if he can just kind of get some more discipline in him and get some more time on the court, then he'll be great. Because he really fits the style of this team. He just oftentimes isn't on the court as much as he should be because he's fouling all the time. So I don't know. I really am curious to see kind of what he can do. Obviously, I mean, like the whole center situation is going to be obviously quite a interesting thing to watch. I do have a lot of hope for Jay Huff too. I haven't watched him a ton, obviously. I mean, obviously he didn't get a ton of minutes on the Grizzlies in the first place, but I'm curious. He seems like such a great fit. He honestly, like, even with like his blocking and stuff. Speaking of, I had to laugh the other day. I saw that NBA 2K ranked him in the top 10 of guys block leaders, and they didn't have Miles on there, and I was like, man, that's some shade to Miles. But I mean, he does seem like he seems like he'll be a great fit. If he gets just a matter again, like it's a matter of the time and kind of stepping up to the plate, So between him and Isaiah, like I'm really curious to watch how the centers kind of step up and evolve over the course of the season.
I think there's people that fall in different buckets. Like you could be nervous about the center, situation. You could be, optimistic, or you could be confident. Which is, there's some people that say, "Hey, you know what? I think that the sum of the parts is going to be better than what Miles Turner was," and that's definitely a possibility. But I think going into, and nothing's been handed, but going into camp, and it's probably Isaiah Jackson's job to lose. However, I think finishes the season perhaps as a starting center for the Pacers.
Man, that's a good question. I mean, I still think that Isaiah Jackson could finish the year, but I don't know, man. Like as I said with Jay Huff, like it really does feel like kind of a it's, again, I keep using this term "prove it," but it feels like kind of a prove it year for him in terms of like it seems like he's got the potential. It seems like he has a lot of things that the Pacers are needing and wanting. So with the minutes, I guess we'll see what he does, man. Like I'm really curious to see what he does and how he steps up to the plate.
I will just say I do not think it's Isaiah Jackson's job to lose. I think that they're both equally competing for the same job, and I would not actually be surprised if Jay Huff does start the year out as a starting center, only because of the Achilles rehab injury and Huff being 100%. I think that could play a factor. Plus, I do like potentially the fit of Huff next to Siakam with that floor
Yeah.
spacing ability. And obviously, like the rim protection, they're both good at that. I think Ajax is better, obviously, but according to NBA 2K, Seth, I would have to say Jay Huff is the elitist of the elite. So we can't push that too much because those ratings mean everything. But I want to ask you about Aaron Nesmith, because this is a player that I brought up on Twitter saying, like, I don't feel like we're giving him enough attention in terms of what this year could mean for him, because he is such a specific type of player that I think everyone kind of pigeonholes him into only being able to benefit off of what Tyrese does. But what do you think this year without Tyrese can mean for him?
Man, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously going to get more shots, and we've seen over his time as a Pacer that he's very efficient offensively. So I mean, more shots you would think would mean he will thrive. But yeah, I'm curious to see kind of where he lands in terms of the terms of the scoring output per game. But I mean, obviously we're gonna need more shots going up. So yeah, I'm curious, man. That is an interesting thought to think about. I do kind of think he's being overshadowed a lot. Like we're talking a lot about Matherin and Nembhard. I don't know, like in my mind I'm kind of like, yeah, like Nembhard and Matherin are going to need to step up a lot this year, more than they have in the past. But I mean, Nesmith's been reliable for so long. So I don't know. Like I do kind of maybe see him being like maybe the second leading scorer this year. We'll find out, I guess. But I could see that very much being potentially there, that he'd be the second leading scorer.
Hey, I think the
Siakam
last have been career years for Nesmith. Like, why can't he take another step forward in a bigger role? I think it's definitely a possibility. But another guy who's really not getting talked about enough, that is coming off back-to-back career years, is also Obi Toppin. I know that Obi is someone who likes to get out there and run, and obviously is someone who benefits in playing a faster style of pace. But could Obi Toppin potentially take on an expanded role and maybe deliver a third career year in a row?
Yeah, man, that's very much a good point. I mean, again, he has every year he's been here, he's stepped up more and more. And as I just mentioned, we're gonna need some guys to step up this year. So it's kind of his opportunity to lose. You know, he's really got to step up, and we'll see what he can do. Yeah, I'm very much curious. I'm curious to see how the bench kind of steps up in general this year. It'll be, man, it's gonna be an interesting year for sure. It's gonna be, I'm looking forward to it very much, anxiously awaiting the start of kind of what this team will look like without Ty. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of guys that are gonna need to kind of step up and show what they got.
All right, Seth, do you like to rank things?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, all right, let's rank last playoff runs, game-winning moments. Okay, so you've got the game winner against the Bucks, Tyrese with the layup.
Yeah.
You've got his game winner against the Cavs. You've also got game one against the Knicks where he hits the tying shot, does the choke sign, and then obviously the NBA Finals game one where he hits that go-ahead shot over Cason Wallace. So if you had to rank those 1 through 4, how would you rank them?
Okay, man. All right. I'm going to say, I'm going to go with one. I'm going to say is the Finals. Just because of, I feel like kind of the comeback in that game too. I mean, since they trail for so long, just kind of, and having that be the cherry on top, I would probably put that as 1. I would say 2. I'm gonna put Knicks up there. The choke sign was obviously pretty epic. That was, and obviously with it being against the Knicks, big rivals. Speaking of rivals, I'm going to say 3 would probably be Bucks. You also had all kind of the antics afterward with Ty's dad, and all of that stuff. That was pretty memorable. And then I'd probably say 4 Cavs. Still a pretty great moment, but I don't know, like when I think about like the things I won't forget from this postseason run, I think I'm gonna go with OKC 1, Knicks 2, Bucks 3, Cavs 4. I think that's my top 4.
Man, what a season when we can, go back and forth on how many winners and where we want to rank them. I mean, there's so many that we've even left off. It was just a really, really fun year, which makes next year going to be tough to kind of live up to.
Yeah.
It's so special. It was nearly perfect. You can make
It was.
2 quarters away from being a perfect season. Like
Yeah.
underdogs, overachieving, late game theatrics, had a little bit of everything. Obviously now without Tyrese Halliburton, without Miles Turner, there's guys that do need to step up. Like, is there someone that you feel that, we had mentioned a couple names. You mentioned Mathurin,
Yeah.
like, who do you think can really take their game like the biggest leap out of any player on this roster?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the player that I'm looking to make the biggest leap is Mathurin. Over the years, we've heard kind of Rick talk a lot about Mathurin's growth. It kind of seems like Rick's really put Mathurin under his wing, and if there's a time for him to really show what he's got, it's this season, man. Especially with him being inserted in the starting lineup. I really am. And again, like I keep saying the word prove it, but I feel like such a prove it year for Mathurin, man. Like he's really got to show that he's got it, or like his rest of his career is dependent on this season. I feel like so. Yeah, I'm really looking to see what he can do. Looking to see how he can kind of fit into his role with this team. I feel like my frustration with him over the years has often been that he plays a little bit too much ISO ball. I was talking to someone the other day that I feel like he oftentimes like tries to Kobe it a little bit too much, and I would just like to see him fit a little bit more into the scheme of this team, and the style of this team. And I think that will bode well for him and his success in his future, if he kind of buys into the style of this team more and doesn't quite Kobe it all the time. So yeah, we'll see, man. I'm really curious to see what he can pull off this year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if Ben Mathurin were playing in the triangle offense, it might be a different version of Ben we'd be seeing. But in this new era Indiana Pacers style of basketball, it is just not the right fit for the triangle. And so you have to find versions of the triangle to fit in with what they're doing. So that'll be fascinating to see. But another player that I think, me and Facci have kind of gone back and forth on, and a guy that I feel like he's going to have a breakout season, but I could be wrong. What do you think about Jarris Walker, and what are you expecting from him? Because not expecting, but what do you want to see specifically from him this next season?
Yeah, man, good point. I mean, he definitely, before his injury, he was really showing a lot of signs of greatness. I'm very much curious to see what he can pull off, more with his shot. I think that's always been kind of the thing that we've talked about with him, is how reliable of a scorer is he. So yeah, we'll see if he can be a reliable scorer. We obviously know he's great on D. I especially am just kind of curious to see if he can be a reliable scorer and a reliable source of points for this team, because obviously, as I mentioned, we're gonna need the points this year. So we're gonna need guys like him to step up. I'm curious to see what he can do when it comes to his offense.
I know it sounds like a little like cliche or whatever you might want to say, but like there's a lot of internal growth that can have this team really go to the next level. Like, sure, missing a player that you cannot replace in Tyrese Halliburton. When you mention a guy like Jarris Walker, who is a top 10 pick coming into year 3, who has a lot to prove. You mentioned another top 10 pick in Benedict Mathurin, who clearly has all the potential in the world. You got Andrew Nembhard, who's now stepping into a really big role. You tell me about, are you more confident in Nembhard or a little bit more nervous stepping into being like the lead point guard for this team?
Man,
and our number one point guard is an elite point guard in this league. You can't fill those shoes.
yeah, man, I am really curious to see. I feel like over the years he's shown when he has a chance to shine, he normally steps up. But yeah, I am really curious to see what he can do this year. Obviously, I feel like when he's aggressive and comes in looking to score, then yeah, I feel like he's shown that he can do that. It'll just be very interesting to see if I do think he's reliable. I feel like even like when you looking back on like the Pacers run a couple years ago when Ty got hurt, and you had Mathurin in the playoffs. playing great, man. Like, you really saw him against, like, in the that series against the Celtics. He really did kind of show us what he had. He showed us that he can be a reliable number one PG, So I feel like he's shown us that he can do that. It'll just be a matter of how consistent he can be.
And then just to piggyback off that conversation, how important do you think this year of running the point guard for the entirety of the season will help him once Tyrese does come back and make this team more dangerous?
Yeah, I agree. I think it will help him a lot. I think it'll show that, yeah, he can do that. Also, I mean, like him and Ty being again in the starting lineup eventually, yeah, it'll show some versatility. It'll show that the Pacers have multiple guys that they can rely on with the ball in their hand. Yeah, I over the years, he's really shown that he can do that. So I think this year's kind of a year for him to grow and prove himself as a guy that can kind of be relied upon.
Yeah, in a year where you're trying to figure things out, there's some big changes that you don't know how it's going to work out. How underrated is it to bring back this same coaching staff year for year, where now there is that continuity with the coaching group that knows these young players and they've spent time together for a few years now?
Yeah, I definitely think that's crucial, man. I mentioned earlier how I feel like Rick has put like Matherin under his wing, and I just feel like having kind of the veteran coaching staff that we've got, having those guys be there with this young group, kind of steering the way and leading them through the sometimes rocky waters when it comes to injuries and stuff, But I feel like the coaching staff being there and being reliable, they have been kind of. I mean, coaching staff can't get hurt, So they've been like really the most reliable thing that we've had in recent years, because we haven't had to deal with them coming and going and dealing with injury, So yeah, I think they've been crucial, and as you mentioned, yeah, I feel like they're kind of underrated in terms of just the steady rock that they are for this franchise.
When you talk about the coaching staff not get hurt, now we got to knock on wood to make sure that doesn't happen, because I was having flashbacks to when Carlisle wiped out on the floor and Lloyd Pearson helped him up, and he was like, "No, I'm good." Like he was just definitely like, "I'm an old man, don't bother me. I can get up on my own." But no. Anyway, I want to ask you, since the schedule's come out now, obviously, you play the same opponents throughout the year, 82 games, but do you have a prediction of what you think the Pacers will finish in terms of maybe win-loss record, or if you think they'll be top 6 playoff, or you think they're more in the 7-10 range? I'm just curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't have a record in mind. I do kind of think this year they'll be I've been saying I think they're a 7-10 this year. I guess we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm just curious. That's just kind of what I'm feeling. Man, I don't know.
You're the positive guy.
No, I know I typically am, but I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like teams like the Magic are going to step up. Hawks are going to get better. I don't know. I feel like there's some teams that were below us last year that, I mean, obviously the Sixers are always a wild card. You never know what they're going to happen with them with their injuries. So yeah, I don't know. I would put us in the 7-8 range. That's my prediction, I guess. Realistically,
I think it's safe to. There might not be that big of a difference between the 6th seed, the 7th, the 8th. Like it's all very. Yeah. That could be within a game for all we know. But what would you consider maybe a successful season this year? It doesn't always have to end with hoisting the trophy at the end of the year. Obviously, last year, that's a tough follow up. But what would you be considering? Yes,
man, what would I consider? I feel like one thing which we've talked about a lot would be specifically seeing guys grow. I think that would be specifically one thing that I would consider a success. Seeing guys like Ijax grow, seeing guys like Matherin grow, Nemhard, Jarris Walker we talked about. I just feel like seeing growth is one thing I would specifically say would be a big success. And then two, yeah, I guess I would say like making it to the second round, I would say it would be a success this year. Specifically just showing that like this team can still make waves without Ty, you know. I think that would be pretty cool to see. And I don't know too. I mean, again, we haven't really talked a lot about Siakam, but I mean, I would love to see him kind of just show that like he is that guy, you know. So yeah, we'll see what he can do this year. See if he can kind of show that he is the reliable all-star that we know that he is, you know. I'm kind of curious to see what he can do this year, and if he can put this team on his back and step up to that leadership role.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big year for Siakam just to kind of prove like he can still be a number one guy on a team that makes the playoffs. Obviously, they were that close to winning a championship with him as a number 2 guy next to Halliburton, but at times he was really the number 1 throughout playoff series. So, I mean, I respect his game a lot, and we'll see if he can play at that same level for 82 games and without Tyrese and Miles on the floor with him. But I do have to go this direction because you're a big music guy, and we were talking some music off air before we jumped on here. So I know you've covered a lot of music, and this might be hard off the top of your head, but when you look at the run the Pacers have had the last 2 years, does it resemble any kind of group that you've covered and just seeing them kind of rise to start them out of nowhere?
Man, that is hard, man. That's an interesting question.
I didn't say it's a good question, but you've been saying a lot, so I feel bad, but that's an interesting question.
No. Oh man. I don't know. Like there definitely are kind of these. I'm trying to think of like a group that comes out of nowhere that I've seen kind of. Well, I mean, I guess I would. This is a weird one, but like a couple of years ago, I was at Lollapalooza. I was covering Lollapalooza, and I feel like Chaperones. That's a weird. It's weird to compare the Pacers with Chaperone, but I feel like her kind of like she kind of just came out of nowhere and went from being like no one really knew who she was to then everyone was talking about her all the time, and I kind of feel like that. And she like broke the record for I was at her Lollapalooza performance a couple years ago, and she wound up breaking the record for the biggest crowd at Lollapalooza 2 years ago, and I kind of just feel like she I feel like that's a weird answer. It's weird to mention the Pacers
on the podcast, but I want to talk about Pink Pony Club. Let's go.
But I do kind of feel like she was just such a, like, it was kind of like, oh, wow, like she's awesome, you know? And that's kind of what I feel like the Pacers have been too. It's like, oh man, like people weren't really paying attention to the Pacers, but now they are, you know. And I feel like that's kind of what's happened on Chaperona. Is like, man, where did she come from? You know, I actually, I live in Fountain Square, and I live close to this tiny venue called the Hoosier Dome. It's probably about 200 capacity. She played at the Hoosier Dome in 2018. And I mean, like, that's crazy to say that, like, she played at this tiny venue in Fountain Square that's in like a strip mall. And now, like I just mentioned, she had the biggest crowd ever at Lollapalooza, you know? So, like, I don't know, like, she just came out of nowhere.
I love it.
That's kind of what I feel like that's how I think of the Pacers too. Is like, now everyone's like, whoa, better watch out for the Pacers, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's always nice to do the hunting, but now, yeah, teams definitely are going to look at the Pacers, even without, you know, Halliburton, Turner, and say, hey, you know what, you can't overlook them ever. You know, you got to give them your A game. But I think that when you look at you know, this roster, knowing that it's going to be hard to be where you were last year, do you think the Pacers were too complacent? Do you think maybe they should have went for it a little bit more, and they do still have some cap space where they could have gone for it more? Or do you think they're, you know what? Don't rush it. There's still time in the regular season if you want to make a move.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would have liked them to be a little more aggressive in free agency, I guess. I feel like so much really was dependent on everything with Miles, and then once he went to the Bucks, it was kind of like, oh, like I don't know. I feel like they were kind of like waiting too much on Miles, and then once he didn't come here, then it kind of like screwed over a little bit of what they could have been doing while they were waiting on him, you know. So yeah, I would have liked to see them be a little more aggressive, but as we've talked about, I mean, there are all these pieces that we have that can step up and show what they've got this year. And as we talked about Jay Huff too, I feel like there's a lot of these guys that really can prove themselves this year. It's just a matter of if they can step up to the plate or not. So I don't know. I would have liked to see them do a little bit more, but at the same time, I understand. Like we've mentioned, like Jarius Walker's a top 10 pick, Matherin's a top 10 pick. We have all these guys that definitely have potential. It's just a matter of them getting the opportunity and the spotlight, and this year's the year for them to do that. So I would have liked to see the Pacers do more this offseason, but I also understand why they didn't, considering all of the pieces that they do have and kind of untapped potential, I feel like.
Well, Seth, we really do appreciate your time. I know we've gone about 30 minutes here, so it's been a lot of fun talking with you about the Pacers and anything, but I want to give you this opportunity as we close things out to plug anything you'd like to plug. I know you mentioned some concerts you've been going to. You write for NUVO, not just covering the Pacers, but other music. So let people know what you got going on.
Yeah, sure, of course. I've written about the Pacers, as I mentioned, for NUVO since 2018, but I've actually written about music for NUVO, since like 2010. So it's been a while. And so I have a long standing and for NUVO I write a lot about local artists, and then I also write about like the big shows that come to town. Like I covered like the Eras tour when I was here. So I do a little bit of everything. I also write for Mirror Indie. I write a lot about local artists for them. I actually just had a story come out last week about a rapper named 4200 Corey. He will be performing at the Tyrese Hip Hop Festival as it's coming up here in Fountain Square next Saturday. It's held at all the different venues in Fountain Square. I'll be covering that, and I also interviewed and wrote a story about 4200 Corey. So I would recommend checking him out if you're big into hip hop. Indianapolis hip hop is kind of, the Tyrese Hip Hop Festival is a festival that really kind of gives the city a chance to show what it's got when it comes to local rappers. And so that's coming up next Saturday in Fountain Square, August 23rd. I would love to see some of y'all listeners there. It's a great opportunity to kind of get tapped into what the city has to offer. So I'm looking forward to covering that this year. I also mentioned to Alex before we got on, I am covering the Black Keys concert at Everwise Amphitheater at White River State Park next Sunday too. So I've got a big weekend coming up. I'm covering the Tyrese Hip Hop Festival on Saturday, and then I'm covering the Black Keys and Gary Clark Jr. At Everwise Amphitheater on Sunday. So I'm gonna be a lot of time spent outside out in the sun listening to tunes, but I'm looking forward to it. That's always kind of the I always say I love covering the Pacers and music, because a lot of times when the Pacers season ends, it's when summer concert season kind of picks up, and I cover a lot of concerts, so it's kind of like my year is taken care of with entertainment, because when I'm not covering the Pacers, I'm covering concerts, and when I'm not covering concerts, I'm covering the Pacers. So it's just I spend a lot of time. I'm actually going to be covering the Brandy concert at Gamebridge coming up in October. So I spend a lot of time at Gamebridge, whether it's for Pacers games or for concerts. I'm there a lot. So
you're covering Brandy, but not the Jonas Brothers concert?
Yeah, unfortunately. I think I'll pass on Jonas Brothers this year. I think I don't know. That's not really my bag, man. It's not a cup of tea.
Well, it sounds like you're a busy man. We appreciate you making the time. It sounds like you also have a pretty fun weekend ahead of you. So everybody check out Seth's coverage. Awesome stuff. And Seth, I'm sure we'll be seeing you down the road. We won't have it be as long as it was this time. We look forward to having you back on.
Awesome. Sounds great, guys. Thanks for having me.